want to welcome you all to the 28th annual School and Soldier. School and Soldier is really a loose term here because we are really a militia, and we're not the military that most schools and soldiers talk about. We fought as citizen soldiers, and then we came home to our farms, our jobs, our families, and so this school actually takes into effect what the people were like, what the people did, and what the people were actually involved in. So today we're going to talk on three different points. Part of the clothing, and that will be a little bit later. So we're going to probably start off with the music of the time period as soon as we find the male accompaniment. Oh, wait, he's here. There he is. Wonderful. I'm going to make it easier to roll one. He was hiding back there. So, Barbara and Duffy have been friends of mine for years. We've traveled many miles together. To Nova Scotia twice. Pretty nice. Two trips, yeah. And we were watched by the Canadian government to make sure we didn't leave a couple of forts with a couple of guns that we weren't supposed to. Somehow they got really upset when they found a leather band around their nut that was holding down a large cannon. So that's another story. We'll talk about it later after over a few drinks. But Barb and Denny are going to entertain you and teach you a little bit about the music of the time. The French were very social type of people. They were very hardworking, but when the crops were in and the crops were harvest, they found time to party, and they found time to dance, and they found time to sing. And so the music at the time period was quite a bit of their soul. So Barb and Denny are going to help you feel a little bit of that soul, and well, maybe not. That's really not soul music, is it? Anyway, they're going to talk to you a little bit about the music of the 18th century. So I hope you enjoy it, folks. They're very great people.
This is the title. This is Mirth and Merriment in the 18th century. As Tom said, everybody except English had a lot of fun. Contrary to what we think, we always see them with the big pilgrim hats and they wear long faces. And it was kind of amazing. I was reading somewhere where in Puritan, Massachusetts, in the early days, that over 50% of marriages had offspring in less than 9 months. So I think some of those old Puritan boys got a little randy. Anyway, so
okay, let's stick to our songs. All right.
This is the song.
I know, right.
All right. Where is this? Okay. Ye bucks and ye bloods, who love tippling and smoking, who season each moment with laughing and joking. A while but be silent, attend what is spoke, and I'll make it appear that the world is a joke.
The flattering fop and the tradesmen who cheat will joke at each other when passing the street. Nay, he that can't joke, we a many should call. So let us sing, tan-ta-ra-ra-ra, joke off.
The jokes and laughter part of the 18th century as they are now, but sometimes the punchlines leave us a little quizzical. Their sense of humor was a little bit different. One of the early jokesters was a guy named Joe Miller, who was a stand-up comic on the London stage from 1709 till his death in 1738. It was a model for the book called Joe Miller Jests, first published in 1739. In fact, he kept adding jokes to the succeeding volumes. A groaner was sometimes called a Joe Miller. The Feast of Merriment in 1795 was another popular joke book. We'll be interspersing some of our songs with some of these early jokes. Many use puns, so you'll have to listen carefully.
Now, we like to start out with just a few titles of songs that we've dug up over the years. Some of them we haven't all been singing. The one was called Flush the Cat from Under the Table. And the night before Larry was stretched, Johnny, give her thou thing. The tailor fell through the bed, thimble and all. We'll hide the Cooper behind the door. Oh, I like this one. I, like a ship in the storm, was tossed.
Go marry what blockhead you will. Yes.
Oh, I'm bubbled, oh, how I'm troubled.
Or the toothless bride.
I'll die for no shepherd, not I.
And here's one that I hope none of anybody. It's called Piss Upon the Grass.
Actually, that was still played a lot now, but not with those words. The gamesters and lawyers are jugglers alike.
A buttock of beef.
Who learned you to dance and talk?
Make hay while the sun shines. And the one I like, she's sweetest when she's naked.
Oh, we like to. So we kind of divided our songs into groups. And the first group is our marriage and the battle of the sexes. There's always something to laugh about, we hope, in that category. So this is an old ballad. It was collected by Child, actually, from the early 1700s, called Get Up and Bar the Door. Maybe you've heard me go.
It fell out upon Martin's time. The good wife made some puddings on with a hey-ho for the dummery-go. She boiled them in the pan-ho. With the hey-ho for the dummery-go, the wind blew in the window. With a hey-ho for the dummery-go, the wind blew on the floor. The good man to the good wife said, old woman, shut the door, oh, with a hey-ho for the dummery-do.
Go shut the door yourself, oh.
Well, they made a pact, good and strong, the first to speak a word, oh, with a hey-ho for the dummery-do, would rise and shut the door, oh. Travelers came to the house that night, they were hungry, wet, and cold, oh, with a hey-ho for the dummery-do, they saw the open door, oh. The travelers whooped and the travelers howled, the settlers drank his ale, oh, with a hey-ho for the dummery-do, they swilled her puddings too, oh. Here, take my knife, one said to the other, take off the old man's beard, oh, with a hey-ho for the dummery-do, and I will kiss the wife, oh. Well, the good man leapt from out of his bed, is called my beard cliff brew, oh, with a hey-ho and the dummery-do, you cannot kiss my wife, oh. Well, our good wife skipped up on the floor, our good man, he was angry, oh, with a hey-ho for the dummery-do, 'twas he who closed the door, oh. You know, there are times in your life when you have marital differences and different things. I thought that was pretty apropos.
Okay, so we're going to give you a few jokes between. So, you ready for the first joke?
I guess.
Several years ago, when Mrs. Rogers, the player, she must have been quite a looker, was young and handsome, Lord Norton Gray who was remarkable for his homely face, accosting her one night behind the scenes, asked with a sigh, "What is a cure for love?"
Your lordship, said he, the best I know in the world, said she. And I can't even read a joke. Okay.
Okay, some of you have heard us do this one before.
This is another Battle of the Sexes song. It's called The Farmer's First Wife. It's not a farmer that the devil makes a deal with his farmer. There was an old couple who lived on the hill. If they're not gone away, they're living there still. Say, fiddle-lie, 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 hey. The devil, he came to the man at the plot, said, one of your family I'll take away now. Say, fiddle-lie, 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 hey. Well, melody you like the best. It's just going on like that I like the best. Sing fly, fiddle-lie, 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 play. So the devil he hoisted her up on his back, and like an old peddler went carrying his pack. Sing fly, fiddle-lie, fiddle-lie, fly, fiddle-lie, fiddle-lie, play. Now 10 little elves were hanging in chain. She up with her foot and kicked out the brains. Sing fly, fiddle-lie, fiddle-lie, fly, fiddle-lie, fiddle-lie, play. Then 12 little elves came climbing the wall. Sing, take her back, Peggy, she's killing us all. Sing fly, fiddle-lie, fiddle-lie, fly, fiddle-lie, fiddle-lie, play. Well, the devil he hoisted her up on his back, and like an old fool he carried her back. Sing fly, fiddle-lie, fiddle-lie, fly, fiddle-lie, fiddle-lie, play. Here's your nagging old wife and fare thee well. She can't go to heaven, but she can't stay in hell. Sing fly, fiddle-lie, fiddle-lie, fly, fiddle-lie, fiddle-lie, play. Now I've been in the devil most all my life, but I've never been in hell till I met your wife. Sing fly, fiddle-lie, fiddle-lie, fly, fiddle-lie, fiddle-lie, play. This proves that women are better than men. They can go to hell, but they'll come back again. Sing fly, fiddle-lie, fiddle-lie, fly, fiddle-lie, fiddle-lie, play. Sing fly, fiddle-lie, fiddle-lie, fly, fiddle-lie, fiddle-lie, play. This is a quote from Poor Richard's Almanac. My sickly spouse, with many a sigh, once told me, Dickie, I shall die. I grieved it, but recollected straight, 'twas bootless to contend with fate. So resignation to heaven's will prepared me for succeeding ill. 'Twas well it did, for on my life 'twas heaven's will to spare my life.
We're never quite sure who wins in this battle of the sexes.
I know who wins. I always have the last word. Yes, Gary. If you're smart, you will say that.
We're going to move on to some political and social satire. And many of you know one of the songs we like the best, the King's Home Regulars. We'll probably do that tonight.
Because you have to have liberals wannabes of adult beverages.
And another one that's a fun one on political satire is Lord Save Us, the Congress Are Fighting. And it was a song written about in 1798 when the Congress literally broke out with loggerheads, shillelaghs, and fisticuffs. It was quite a brouhaha.
Now, occasionally in the Missouri legislature will break out in fisticuffs. They don't use loggerheads
anymore. Yeah, we got a lot more civilized.
Okay, this song is one, it's another tribute to Ben Franklin, called The Antediluvians. That was somebody who was real old, it was born before the flood, which I'm getting there qualified. The antediluvians were all very sober, for they had no wine, and they brewed no October. Oh, wicked bad livers on mischief still thinking, for there can't be good living where there is not good drinking. Derry down, 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 Derry down, Derry down, 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 Derry down.
Please join us in singing these. It's always so much more fun when other people help us out.
'Twas I, take something to eat on. 'Twas I that stole Noah, first planted the vine, and mended his marvel by drinking its wine. He justly the drinking of water he cried, for he knew that by drinking it all mankind all died. Derry down, 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 Derry down, Derry down, 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 Derry down. From this piece of history plainly we find that waters could neither for body and mind, and safety and virtue in wine fittings found. When all that drink water deserve to be drowned. Derry down, 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 Derry down, Derry down, 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 Derry down. So for safety and honesty, put the glass round.
Believe it or not, the jokes that we're telling throughout this are some of the funnier ones. We left off the ones that we were sure no one would laugh.
Yeah, Barbara read one to me and I go, what?
This will be like a French marquis.
Yes, a French marquis once being at dinner at Roger Williams, the famous punster Republican, and boasting of the happy genius of his nation in projecting all fine modes and fashions, particularly the ruffle, which he said was the fine ornament to the hand that had been followed by all the other nations. Roger allowed what he had said, but observed at the same time that the English, according to custom, made a great improvement upon their invention of the ruffle. They added the shirt to it.
So
You
now,
know, when you look at some of those old paintings of big ruffles, like,
yeah.
how did they even eat? You know, you might as well just dump your stuff.
Okay, the Irish had to look at things with good sense of humor. That was the only way to get through life. And this next song from the 18th century is about Brian O'Lynn. And with it, we all have his optimistic outlook.
And I think he was founder of the Optimist Club in Ireland. Brian O'Lynn.
You wanted to tell me about this one?
Yeah, there's one word in here that you probably won't recognize. It's called an Oxford. And it's Irish for armpit. And when we get to the song, Brian O'Lynn had no breeches to wear. He got a big sheepskin to make him a pair, with the fleshy side out and the woolly side in. They'll be pleasant and warm, says Brian O'Lynn. Brian O'Lynn had no coat to put on, so he bought a big buckskin to make him a one, with the horn sticking out from his oxters in there. Sure, they'll take them for pistols, says Brian O'Lynn. Brian O'Lynn had no hat to put on, so he got him one beaver to make him a one. There was none of the crown left and less of the brim. Sure, there's fine ventilation, says Brian O'Lynn. Brian O'Lynn had no watch for to wear, so he got a big turnip and scooped it out there. He put a large crate into it then. Sure, they'll think it's a ticket, says Brian O'Lynn. Brian O'Lynn had his house and a door. He the sky for a roof and the bottom for a floor. He a way to jump out and a way to swim in. 'Tis a fine habitation, says Brian O'Lynn. Brian O'Lynn and his wife and wife's mother, they were all crossing over the bridge together. The bridge broke down and they all tumbled in. We'll find ground at the bottom, says Brian O'Lynn. We'll find ground at the bottom, says Brian O'Lynn. Two Irishmen, having traveled on foot from Chester to Barnet, were very much tired with their journey, and the more so when they were told they still had about 10 miles to London. By my soul, cries one of them, it's 5 miles apiece, then let's walk on.
The next group of songs we call the parodies because they would rewrite the words to a familiar tune. And usually, the sappier the words were originally, the more they wanted to do this. So, Greensleeves was one of the more popular ones. It had many sets of words to it. And we'll start off with the Greensleeves one. But then they did one called Sweet Lass of Richmond Hill. And oh, she's, it's all these flowery words. Well, the parody, and this was in a broadside that we collected, is Sweet Pig of Richmond Hill. And then finally we'll do one on the Scottish tune, Oh, the Broom, the Bonny, Bonny Broom. And it's a very sad song. The Scotsman has to leave Scotland and he's pining for his home. And so this is Oh, the Bonny, Bonny Beef. So this is the roast beef sliced so tender. Anyway, I think they were hungry. But we'll start off with a little green sleeves.
As I walked by myself, I said to myself again to me, look well to thyself, take care of thyself, for nobody cares for me. Then I answered myself, and I said to myself, with a self-same repartee, look well to thyself, but not to thyself. It's a self-same thing with me. I'll make a few lever changes here.
This is Sweet Pig.
Richmond Hill. On Richmond Hill there feeds a pig, which does that hill adorn. This pig so plump, so wondrous big, a finer ne'er been born. This pig so neat, so full of meat, as one their goodwill. My fame reside on thee to die, sweet pig of Richmond Hill. Ye hardy trees who acorns bear and form a shady grove. Oh, fat and still this pig so rare till he can hardly move. How happy must the swineherd be who calls this pig his own. Oh, my bliss befall to me, I dine on pig alone.
When
a slice of beef, how sweet it would go down. Ah, Charlie has now there been seen, this ne'er had happened to me. I would the dog had picked my nine, ere I had gone with thee. Oh, the bee, the bonny, bonny bee, when roasted nice and brown, I wish I had a slice of beef, how sweet it would go down. A melting sermon being preached in a country church, all fell weeping but one man, who being asked, why didn't he weep with the rest? Oh, he said, I'm from another parish.
Okay, category is sex songs. Now we're going to keep this pretty up above, but
Yes.
one thing, but it had to be mentioned, yes, and sung about. They were very subtle for the most part. Now, yeah, there were some in your face, but there was an awful lot of subtleties going on.
Double entendre.
Yes. And so they left a lot to your imagination. They would get a theme, for example, the trooper watering his nag, and then you have to kind of figure out the rest.
Or the blacksmith.
Or the Irish jig.
A soldier, a sailor, a tinker, a tailor.
How about
the
the jolly tradesman?
The tradesman. The jolly tinker, the Cooper of Dundee, the cuckoo's nest.
Some of this you
The
get.
Tunbridge Doctors, and the Wanton Trick, which is a musical adventure.
Yes, and it's interesting. I find myself looking up words to find out what they mean. And one of them in this wanted trick was prick. And I thought, that's not quite what we mean today. But it meant a noted song, a song that was written down. And so a youth in, a pleasant young maid on her instrument played that knew neither note nor prick. She had a good will to live by her skill. Whoop, 'tis but a wanton trick.
A youth in that art, well seen in his part, they called him Derbyshire Dick. Came to her a suitor, and would be her tutor. Whoop, it's a wanton trick. And then there follows lessons on his lute, his vowel, and violin.
It was violin. Anyway, all the
Brian's
different
older
instruments.
sister.
So we'd like to do one that's a seafaring one, and it's called Seafaring Kate. Came out early 1700s, late 1600s, and so there's of course seafaring words that you'll understand.
That would make it a nautical song.
A nautical song. It involves an English lady and a French man. So. I'm a prize for a captain to fall on. My name
is Seafaring Kate. My sails in your top and top gallant, a frigate that's of the first rate, with a fa la 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 la. A Frenchman came lately to press me, which was not a very hard thing, and he swore that he first would embrace me, then loaded me then for a king, with a fa la 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 la. Last summer he sailed from the Shannon, for long had an anchor had rid. On his midship he had a good cannon, which was all the great guns that he had. Oh, with a fa la 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 la.
It was a high tide
And the weather, with an easterly gale did blow. Our frigates were foul of each other, and and could not get off or ride, so with a fa la 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 la. My bottom was strongly well blanketed, my deck would a tempest endure, but ne'er was poor dog in a blanket so tossed as was the monsieur. With a fa la 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 la, I peppered him off from the center. Monsieur was ne'er so before. I burnt his mainyard at a winter, so that he will press me no more. With a la 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 la. Then Monsieur got off and was grieved, and cursed the English first rates, but till then he could never believe it, that a volcano lay in the straits. With a fa la 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 la.
Okay, a lady being asked how she liked a gentleman singing, but he had a very stinking breath. She said, well, the words are good, but the air is intolerable. So, little pun on the word air there, because that's the music. Now, oh yeah, I'm going to, no, we're going to do one that you all are familiar with us doing, a little Maggie Lauder. And when we did this, we saw that it could be taken both ways. So a lot of times we don't really mention this. But this is a piper.
Named Rob the Ranter, who was quite famous in Scotland. And this gal named Maggie Lauder, who was quite the dancer. So he's going to do some things for her.
Well, it just depends on how you want to think about it. So you can think about it.
Who would be in love with Bonnie Maggie Lauder? A piper met her going to pipe and asked her what they called her. When scornfully she answered, "He'll be gone, you Helen Shagger. Get on you when you platter stay. My name is Maggie Lauder." Maggie sitting by my back, I'm pigeon fain to see you. Sit down by me, my fine lass, and faith I would not fright you, for I'm a piper to my trade. My name is Rob the Ranter. The lasses leap as if they're down when I blow up my chanter. Piper said, Meg, have you your bags, or is your drum in order? If you be Rob, I've heard of you. Lift you up the porter. The lasses all go for me. I've heard of Rob the Ranter. I'll shake my foot with right goodwill if you'll blow up your chanter. Then to his bags Then to his bags he flew, his feet about the drum he twisted. Meg up and danced about the green, for smartly she did frisk it. Well then, said he, play up, said she, well pop, said Rob the Ranter. It's worth my while to play indeed, when I have such a dancer. Well, have you played your part, said Meg, your cheeks are like the crimson. There's none in Scotland lay so ill since we lost Abby Simpson. I've lived in Fightful, made in life these 10 years and a quarter. If you should come to Exeter Fair, ask for Maggie Lauder.
Now, we have a final little toast there.
Yeah. Here's a toast that, although the militia is a semi-military group, May the soldier's musket always be cocked in pride, and never misfire when the girl of his heart gives the word of command.
Okay, if you think this was going downhill,
You're right.
you're right, it made it worse here. Because we couldn't leave this without one final thing that was very popular in the 18th century, and today we would call it gutter humor. Believe it or not, in 1733 there was a book called The Merry Thought, or The Glass Windows in Bog House Miscellany. And what they did was they went around and took little sayings off the windows of taverns and Bog House, which was the privy. So I thought, some things haven't changed in 250 years. So we're not going to do anything you're off the hook on this one. But nonetheless, since some of the famous people from the 18th century
For a good time, call it. Yeah, it was funny, the graffiti was just really raunchy. I mean, it wasn't no double pottery to it.
Yeah, but anyway, in 1722, then Jonathan Swift wrote a pamphlet called The Benefit of Farting Explained. And he loved a good pun, and he proclaimed the author as Don Fartenhando Puffendorst, professor of Boombast at the Krakow University.
And then Ben Franklin wrote a facetious essay poking fun at scientists who he thought had lost touch with reality. Men said, it's universally known that in digesting our common food, there is created or produced at the bowels of human creatures a great quantity of wind. That the permitting of this air to escape and mix with the atmosphere is usually offensive to the company from the fetid smell that accompanies. My prize question to the scientists, therefore, should be to discover some drug, wholesome and not disagreeable, to be mixed with our common food or sauces that shall render the natural discharges of wind from our bodies not only inoffensive, but as agreeable as perfumes.
So naturally, it wasn't just words, they were singing about this too. So we'll try to do this.
And if you're fed up like that, you would just stick your fingers in your ears, get stuck. These were too good to pass up. This is from Pills to Perch Melancholy that was published by Thomas Godfrey in 1719.
And it actually is a song about the Queen, and she sits down to have her dinner. Okay.
Ye jacks of the town and wigs of renown, leave off your jars and spleen, and haste to your arms all foamy and swans, be ready to sword the Queen. With a hum, 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 hum. When at noon, as in state, the Queen was at meat, and the princely dame sat beside her, a fart there was heard, that the company scared, as a gun and their ears had been fired.
With the hum, hum,
Hum, hum, hum.
which you
Reverent sound made them stare all around, and in each countenance lower, proud studs uniform, and needs must be done, as affronting the sovereign power.
with the
Hum, 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 hum. But the truth of the sound not at all could be found, since none but the doer could tell. So that hushing up the shame, the beefeater bore the blame, and the Queen, God be praised, dined well.
So we have one final song. This is, I'm not sure if this is the final song. I hope we can redeem ourselves tonight. This one, it was written by Henry Purcell in 1730. It's a catch, which was a round and very popular form of singing at that time. Now, Henry Purcell was a prolific composer. He composed a lot of sacred music, operas, theater music. He was constantly composing. And just add one final note on that is that they didn't always make distinctions. Oh, this is classical. Oh, this is folk music. This is pop music. This
is music that sells.
This is music. Yes, this is music that sells. Anyway, this one's called My Lady and Her Maid.
It's from 1730.
My lady and her maid,
Upon a merry pin, they made a match at parting. Who would the wager win? Joan lights the candles then, and sets them both upright. With the first part she blew them out, the next she gave them light. In comes my lady then, with all her might and main, and blew them out and in and out and in and out again. My lady and her maid, upon a merry pin, they made a match at parting. Who would the wager win? Joan lights 3 candles then, and sets them both upright. With the first part she blew them out, the next she gave them light. In comes my lady then, with all her might and main, and blew them out and in and out, in and out again. Started this, we got this machine, we were too embarrassed to go down. So we ordered it off of Amazon.
we were actually going to fix an old one, that would be appropriate because they were using them. Finally, in the words of Ben Franklin, he that lives upon hope dies starving.
So with that final note,
we hope you've had a few laughs, some new wisdoms to take with you, and we have one final toast. Toast.
This is one of the toasts. Here's to the cabinet of pleasure, to which every man carries the key. Take that and put it on the floor.
Well, I hope you enjoyed it. I always do. By the way, thank you for reporting. I don't know how you're up playing this time period.
You've heard the unpublished versions. Those are not our big ones.
At least really thank you for coming. And I'd like to offer you again for our thanks. Okay, and I hope that you can report the good times in there and any notes what's been going on.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, for our second speaker today, about a year ago, one of the gentlemen in the unit came to me and said, I saw this lady down at Cahokia Mountain who does fashion, and you really ought to talk to her about maybe be a speaker. So, I said, okay, let's see what the sash, the sashes are an item that was worn quite a bit by the price. And so I did a little bit of research on the sashes before I started talking to speakers. And because I wanted to make sure I was pronouncing what the sash was called more than anything. And in the
Louisiana, and what is it? Help yourself, this was
no, and so the sash was actually a very prominent part of the clothing that the men would wear. The voyagers would wear it because of the fact that it supported the back during the long days of canoeing. They would pack their gear. Oh, sorry. Okay, never mind. Anyway, she'll bring this up again. So I thought, well, I'll contact her because this is important. If you're going to go out there and portray the re-enactment that we're trying to portray, this is part of the clothing. So let's find out what's more about it rather than just going out there and saying, this looks cool. Let's find out. Okay, so I got to touch, which was a long journey to find this lady. Good. He said, you gotta come look her up. I said, okay, who is she? Where do I contact her? So, yeah, I went to poke him out, I gave her your name, and we finally made connections, and we,
And you probably talked to one of the volunteers or
yes, I did. And secured her contact information so we could invite her. This is Susan Reed Wilson. She is she's a finger weaver. I don't know if you took it in stuff from somebody else or if you taught it yourself.
I took a class at Cahokia about 25 years ago from a Cherokee lady who learned from her mom.
Okay, so then, as it would have been passed down from generation to generation, you learned from people before you. So, she studied at Southeast Missouri State, but she studied anthropology, and like most of us who study one thing and love history, she ended up working in some other profession. And so, this,
Programming plays better.
yeah, let's face it, you can't make a lot of money on history. But, she's been doing it for over 25 years, and her work's in how many museums? Six different museums. And so, she uses all natural dyes and hand-spun wool, and I'm going to let you, her take. So this is Susan Marie Wilson.
After calling that next group, y'all can just take your naps now. That was entertainment, this is lecture. I'll try not to make it too short. As you alluded to, it's sort of the mark of the mountain man, rendezvous, voyageur. I'll say two things. First of all, I have to apologize because I'm doing something today I really, really, really hate. I'm wearing modern pinafores. I know better. I have center seat moccasins at home that I made myself. But I also had double knee replacement. I'm recovering from that. That's why I'm on the cane. So, and I'll probably sit for a while. So, bear with me, because they said, the doc said, moccasins are not going to give you the support that regular shoes do. Oh, yeah.
Maybe I'm here to understand what you're going to
Yeah. Yesterday I had therapy. I was pretty good. I said, yesterday I had therapy. I was on 2 Percocet for that. Good time, man. Just on my group. The other thing is, what did I say about the sessions?
Okay.
I'll come back to it. Most of my stuff, is all natural dyes, and comes from various plants and bugs. Cousins, we gotta give me my bugs back because I need them Monday. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. After I leave here on Sunday, I'm going up to Ferguson. Yeah, that Ferguson. Because Ferguson Forest School District has a farm up there. And they bring in, we have some livestock there, but they bring in sheep, more sheep, and they have sheep shearing for 3 days. And they bring kids from each of their schools, and they're second graders from school. And they have myself and 2 other ladies. So after the kids see the border collie's work and they see Mr. Sheep get his haircut, then I talk to them about sheep being a renewable resource, and they're going to do the same thing. And we have 50 cards of wool, we have a loom set up, and we talk about spinning. So on the way here, I thought, if I have a wreck, God forbid, it's going to be the most interesting debris field. Because they all rocks and clothes, powder horns, a box full of sashes, and a loom, a spinning wheel, and several bags of fleece. I said, good, what is this one about? But that's why I need my bugs back, because when you're dealing with second graders, you have to have the growth spectrum. And these bugs are used for the diet. They're called cochineal. They grow on prickly cactus. And they were when the first Spanish explorers went to South America, the Incas taught them how to use these dead bugs for red, because before, in the old world, all you had to make red was something called turkey red, which was a process that required something like 28 or 29 steps just to obtain the dye. This stuff, they're dried bugs, you crunch them up, you throw them in the dye pot, so you got red, and it's extremely color test. I thought it was big, I don't know how many years, and it's still bright red. And And this is one thing, you have to find the right history books, because a lot of times people will just copy what they read in another book. And it goes on and on. But you find the right history books, and I verified it with several sources. The Hispanics made, they had the corner to market. And they were like Bill Gates when Windows first came out. Everybody had to have it. So the Hispanics made more money off these dead bugs than they did off of all of the gold and silver they took back to the old world. They did boatloads of that stuff. I have to watch what I'm saying. You say they did shiploads, and I have to enunciate carefully. Boatloads.
16th century was so great. 10 times.
But because it's such a color fast time.
And it was mostly silver.
There's another pattern on the scrap floor. Yeah, that's a little secret. They can't be washed. You can't throw in the washing machine. But heat and agitation makes spells. But most of these I've washed a couple times. And you just, especially when I block them, it's very high tech. I throw them in the bathtub in the hottest tap water I can get, let them soak a little bit, then hang them over the shower line. Ta-da! And they dry nicely. So, they can be done. Now, had to read up on this because I volunteered for Cahokia. I got into this from the Native American, American Indian, whatever you want to call it. I've listened very carefully to the right types of gatherings. And what do people call themselves? Indians. Nobody's really hung up on Amaranth or Native American or American Indian. So what do you call yourself? I go back here. I go like Claudia. And if you want to get down to it, I'm a Choctaw or I'm a Cherokee, whatever. But so if I use the word Indian, don't fuss at me about it. You can just fuss all mine. Give us something to do. But anyway, I was approaching it from the Indian side of things. Now, that's the other thing I want to bring up, besides not very much, is I've seen this in books too. The French did not teach the Indians how to finger weave because there are fabrics from Spiral Mound, which is contemporary of Cahokia, which Cahokia was 980 to 1400, that had fabrics in it. Most of them were twine. And there was one that was what they call oblique interlacing. My husband and I were working at a festival in Angel Mounds. And there was one fellow who came there and he said, it was a several days event, and he said, well, I do oblique interlacing. Okay. Tomato, it's finger weaving. It's still the same thing. And that's okay. I got my revenge sort of. I didn't do it. But the last day he was there, it was a bright sunny day, and he put up a plastic tarp. If any of those who've been in plastic tarps, you know it just sucks all the heat in. My husband and I were under a canvas marquee. We were having a little, it was hot, yeah, but we were relatively cool. But he decided to dress out in leggings and a breech cloth and all that sort of thing for the day. Jerry said, the other people would be awfully embarrassed. I said, really why? He said, I've never seen cheeks that red. I looked over at him and thought, he's going to have such an uncomfortable ride. No. I may not be doing oblique interlacing, I'm just finger weaving, but I'm smart enough to be in shade and not going to suffer. So, one thing we talked about, and I had to hunt for this baby, it was we talked about the Voyagers and the Assumption sash. And this one is really faded because when I first started thinking, I'd have to hunt around in rendezvous and historical reenactments or hand-spun yarn that had been dyed with natural dyes. So then my husband started dyeing them, and he dyed all this stuff. So let's see, where's the jig down? His blues don't fade as easily as this one. Yeah, there was that kind of washed out from this blood blue. But became a very good dyer. And darn it, he died last year. So I'm gonna have to dye my own stuff now. I gotta figure out how to do it. I have some good friends who are very good dyers themselves. And I said, come down here and teach me. I got the dye pots, I got the dye plants, I got yarn, I got all this stuff. You just got to teach me what to do with it. So I think, okay. But one thing about the assumption sash, it was very wide. Now, Jerry, this is about 8 inches, I think. And I had already heard that they were very long. This one isn't that long because poor Jerry and I went around the Booth Ring before, or in southeast Missouri. Okay, it's usually hotter than I'll get out that time of year. So he just, it might be fine up in Canada or Quebec, but down here he just didn't want to wrap yards and yards of wool around his belly in the summer. So he just wanted one long enough to go around it and then tie with the fringes. That's why this one isn't that long. And I looked and looked in my research, trying to find the length. Like how long was it? And I couldn't find it. Now there were some places on online that sold sashes that said that they were authentic, the perfect authentic assumption sash. And they were all 6 feet. To me, 6 feet is not that thing. I make 6-footers all the time. Let's see. These are all 8-footers. That's a 6-footer. These are late values. 6-footer. And this is a 6-footer. Was. Most of them I make are 8-foot. And it's supposed to be eat better now. This was much longer than 6 feet. We had I don't know how many of you know a guy named Rusty Hicks, goes by the name of Winter Bear. Okay, I've been trying to get a hold of Rusty. I made a sash for him years ago, and that was before Rusty had lost all the weight. So if my granny had still been around, she would have said he wintered well. And we took the sashes I had and measured them against Rusty. And we determined he wanted something big enough to go around it twice, tie and hang down. Yeah. We determined it was going to have to be 14 feet long. So the one I ended up with was 14 feet 11 inches. And Rusty still wears it now, but he's lost a lot of weight, so he wraps it around it a bunch of times. I was trying to get a hold of him to see if I could bring it as an example, because it's the longest one I've ever made. So I have some that are, on order that I have to spin the yarn for. It's going to be about 11, 12 feet too, also. I know it's not mine because I left it in the hotel. I was running around looking for it so I could put it in the airplane mode. And it said, this is all natural dyes, and some of the cochineal bugs do the red. A plant called indigo does the blue. Now, woad does grow, we live in Missouri. Woad can grow there, and woad was used a lot by the English. But Jerry did get into dyeing with woad, and it's too bad. It's because we found out recently that that woad was what the pigs used to paint their bodies blue. But when they went into battle, they'd strip naked, paint their bodies blue, go after them. They were known as berserkers. I mean, they don't kill them. They would just keep coming, keep coming. Well, what we found out recently is woad is hallucinogenic. So I don't know if these guys are just such brave fighters. They were hired to fight. No. They didn't know, they didn't care, they were fighting the pixies. And on uniforms, they were just, oh man. Let's see, one thing, again, I had to find research on it. This is a rumor I had that in different colonialisms, I don't know if it was French or British, that spinning wheels were banned because they wanted people to obtain their yarn from the old country. The guys who long knives there. French? re-enactment plays in the sky. At the time, I was very disappointed because it was more popular to have people dress up like actors. The tourists wanted to see Ben Franklin walking around, or John Adams, or well, the historical people, and they weren't so interested as much in the craftspeople. I don't know, and I was. But well, walk around there, everything seemed weird. It seemed strange. So I went around in these kind of clothes. I used to dress up French, but somebody would want to be very clever and come and speak French to me. And I don't know French. So sometimes I'd be forced to reply in my native language, or the other are. Hey, how y'all doing today? I don't know what you're talking about, huh? What you mean? But I realized what was strange about it. Even around here, St. Chad, over to Cahokia, places in Illinois, that was French colonialism. This was British, and it was just enough off. It was like creating a favorite song that was played just a half step off tempo, or just a little bit sharp or flat. Something's not right, but you couldn't put your finger on what was not right. And I thought, okay, I'm wearing flatliner clothes, but even if I was dressed in a long skirt, something's still not right. And then finally figure out what the difference was. I didn't realize how steep we are in French colonialism around here in the very Hellside. Several years ago, there was a TV show on, there's an archaeological TV show about one of LaSalle's boats had been discovered in Galveston Bay. So they built a cofferdam around it to try to excavate it. And what they were very much trying to determine from it was this really a voyage of colonization as stated, or was this a voyage of war and conquest? And they determined from the cargo that it really was colonization. Some of the amazing things I remember about this show, one was, well, LaSalle got killed, and a lot of people died of disease or getting into it with Indians. So 2 people left. They walked back home to Canada. There wasn't an I-55 or any other brush. I mean, can you imagine walking through the brush from here all the way back to Canada? It's were tougher in those days. But the other thing was there was some esteemed gentleman from Texas on there saying, well, if LaSalle had been successful in colonizing this area, France would have had a presence in the New World. Huh? Excuse me, Louisiana, still on the parish system. Quebec, St. Genevieve, all the French colonies up and down the Mississippi. What? As my husband pointed out, says, remember, honey, if it didn't happen in Texas, it wasn't important. Because I just couldn't believe what he said. France might have presence here. I said, I'll say I should have yours, you probably can look at them. Oh, my other thing was question.
Question.
Yes.
Where were most of the sashes woven?
Oh, good. Thank you. They were, they became popular. So Hudson's Bay Company, not wanting to miss out on buck, contracted with the village of Les Assumptions, that's where with the name Assumption sash, Les Assumptions, for all the women in the village to embroider the sash. And it's not macrame, it's not braiding, it's not a loom, just use your fingers. And so that's where the name the Assumption sash came from.
Yes, I have a little book on the Assumption sash, and they said that the French Canadian women actually had spinning wheels because they were getting some of the blankets, and or either they're getting the yarn from France and re-spinning it to make it tie.
And well, I've also heard that a lot of times when the Indians would trade for a blanket with red in it, and unravel it to get the red yarn.
Right.
Because this fellow was talking about the blankets, I said, excuse me, let me get this straight. The dye came from here, and these were Indians in the Southwest. I said, you grow the bugs in the Southwest? I said, yes. But they were waiting for the Europeans to trade it all the way over to Europe, dye yarn, and then bring it back here. I said, yes. So the dye stuff was growing right here, well, not here, but it has to go in more formal climates. Yes?
I have a question regarding the oblique interlace or the wedge weave or the ceinture cliché versus solid color sashes. Can you talk a little bit about, is that a different technique or?
It's just a different pattern.
And what is the relative frequency of kind of both?
I can't tell you about the relative frequency is, but like the solid one, like this. All right, in its basic form, a finger weave. You take the leftmost strand. I'm doing one of my class secrets here. Okay. You take the leftmost strand, we go over and under, all the way across, let it drop down. Take the next leftmost thread, over and under, all the way across, let it drop down. That's how you get the solid. If you get these patterns, along the way you do an interlock. So you, all right, if you're looking at a loop, threads that are stretched across are called the warp thread. The weft goes back and forth in a shuttle. In finger weaving, there are only the warp threads. They take a turn. That's how I remember the difference. Bad joke time, sorry. It's been weft out. So you take the warp thread, and it becomes a weft temporarily, twists around another warp thread to make the color changes in the patterns. So you probably don't see as many of the solid ones, even though they're the easiest ones to do, because people are people. We like the flash, we like the colors, we like lightnings, we like flaming arrows. So ceinture cliché, figures that's what that is. But it's also the same thing as, the same thing this is. I call it a double lightning. And this is a double lightning. Okay, if I put that part in the middle closer together, then it looks like the arrow. And here's another double lightning. That's just a matter of what pattern you want to make. That's just personal preference. Yes.
What other dye sources do you use besides the beach dye, and the Gulf portion of it? Did you use local?
Yeah. This one was pretty much all local plants. It's a pretty much. This was onion skin. This is daisy tree vein. This is wild violet. This is Queen Anne's lace with iron. That's mimosa. That's undyed. I say pretty much, this is madder. Now madder has a cousin that grows in southeast Missouri called Leggy's bed straw, also known as cleaver. But you use the roots. It has real fine little roots. So yeah, we could go dig up the Leggy's bed straw and get all these fine roots out, wash them and clean them and use them for the dye stuff. Otherwise, you can get online at your local dye supply place and say, so many ounces, submit. And it's a lot easier. So many ones are easier out. But there's, Cosmos makes good dye plants. So does marigold. What? Yes. And Osage orange. And of course walnut. And you have to laugh at this as it's smiling. I was reading this article on natural dyes, and they said, black walnut, you use that outer husk, and they said, you can no longer use it after it loses its green. Well, yeah. black wool, it's kind of, you get within, I'm exaggerating, it seems like, you get within 10 feet of the stuff, and the walnut dye is going to jump out and latch onto whatever you have on your fingers. My father used to teach, the shop teacher, he said, you work with walnut wood, it'll stain your fingers for days. Mainly because with these dyes, you need a mordant, which is some sort of mineral salt from the French Colony to bite. And you need this to make the dye stuff bite into the fiber or the cloth. Well, because of the tannic acid in walnut, it's self-mordant. So that's why it does the heck out of anything that comes near it. What's one thing you learn as a dyer? If you have a big mess up, and the color just turns out blue, oh, what the heck, dump it in a bad walnut. That'll make it brown, it'll be fine. I said, I use wool for almost everything except, you'll understand the except. One thing that was used as a trade item among the Indians and white people too was bison hair. This is the undercoat of bison. And bison blow their coats in the spring like shepherd dogs do. That's why sometimes when you see a herd of bison, they look so ratty in the spring. It's that undercoat working its way out to the outside. And the reason I say pretty much, it's a pain in the rear end of the skin because it's real short, stable, and slippery. Right now it's $14 an ounce. Yeah. No, I take that back. Before he passed away, Jerry got me some for Christmas, and it was $36 an ounce. Which is why I don't make a whole lot of stuff out of it. Can't afford to. Wool's a lot cheaper. Now you gotta go to the exotic locales like the Water Industry Festival in Northern Illinois, Greenhall Places, which is what would have been splattered all over the road if I had a wreck. They have sashes, blue lady ties, and there's so much to be in front of a group that I don't have to explain legging ties to. Or the sashes don't have buckles, and what the difference is between a sash and a regular belt. You guys know what I'm talking about. Now I have a thing here. I got crazy more than once, but I got crazy and decided to make a shawl. Mainly because, well, if you go to these events, you need a shawl to keep warm. And everybody said, I'd have nice triangle shawls. Or what, did you make that? No, it's triangle. Did you make that? No, it's knitted. Well, so finally, yeah, I made that. This is what I call it, this is my second shawl. My first one is down here. There was a fiber event, and I was busy. I was still trying to spin the yarn the whole time the application came, so I didn't get the picture. But it was a fiber artist thing, and they asked, it's like, what was life like 1,000 years ago? I volunteered to hook you. I know. So this is finger woven, and to here is llama hair. Here is alpaca. Here's alpaca dyed with cochineal. They had cochineal bugs 1,000 years ago. And in North America, we had Angora rabbit, but what I could get would be modern day Angora, which has been bred to have really long hair. It had too much of a fuzz on it. So I found some that was alpaca and Angora blended. That's what this is. And the last is bison hair. So I have from South America to North America the major fiber animals that we used 1,000 years ago. The only thing I don't have is Tidiot, which is muskox. Yeah, you can get it, but it's even more expensive than the bison hair. So I just left it out. Not wanting to bore you to my house. Now this one I call the impossible shawl because I was told, I had read, did not believe it any time, that first of all, that you couldn't dye colored wool. You could only dye white wool. That's not true. And you could, and natural dyes are all dull and earthy. I rest my case. And that you couldn't finger weave with hand spun yarn. And the Mississippians got their yarn from what factory? And finally, you couldn't weave anything, finger weave anything that was wider than on my husband, well, I'm just proven, unfortunately, through ancestry DNA, I have 0 Indian blood. But we didn't have anything to prove, but what we could prove is we both had huge chunks of German blood. So don't tell us we can't do something. It's just, we'll follow rules, we'll be good kids, but don't tell us you can't do that. Just get out of the way, let us work. So armed with this knowledge of what we can do, Jerry took gray wool, bagged it with the natural dyes. I spun it all up and wove it into a 25-inch wide shawl because we couldn't do it. One last thing, I like to try to make my pieces. So let's say it was different. Yeah.
Question.
But yes.
What do you find in terms of the range of weights of yarn from thinner to thicker?
Okay. I was up at the Museum of the Fur Trade last year. Yay. And really cool place. It's in Chandler, Nebraska. I highly recommend it. They had what I would refer to as fingering weight yarn. And that was on sashes and had beads on it. But then I had other fatter weights. They probably depended on what was available to them at the time. One last thing I'm going to pass around. I'll pass the horn around. No, it doesn't have, I shoot with a muzzle loader. But I found out that if you have a horn on display, first thing people do is pull the pin out of it. So I don't have any powder in this because I got tired of cleaning gunpowder up off myself. I made my stuff and I made a powder horn strap for myself. And I called it Second Amendment because it's gonna go on a powder horn. And my husband, my daughter, looks at me all big-eyed and innocent, which means that she's really full of it. She's the best shot in the family, don't forget. And she said, Second Amendment. Now, isn't that the right to arm bears? Okay, kid, I'll see you're smart enough for Mark to raise you one. So I have little bears woven in either end of my powder horn strap, just because. Now that one, there's an amazing man who does a scrimshaw in northern Illinois, the mail carrier, and he said, my daughter made him a sash like a tie set. And he said, you want a powder horn strap, a powder horn, and would I make him a powder horn strap for it? Oh, sure. I make powder horn straps, they're the easiest thing to make. In fact, I got 4 more sitting in the hotel room that need to have tags put on. Well, bring it if you can. But I said, sure, I did. He brought me this magnificent horn that he made. It's a matte horn. It has Cahokia on it. We lived at Dillard Mill State Park at the time, so you used the brochure and put Dillard Mill on there. And put my name on the back, and put an eagle on the back, carrying a sack with my name on it. I was watching Antiques Roadshow sometime after that, and there was a powder horn up for sale, and they said, carved on it was, steal not this horn for fear of shame, for on it is the owner's name. So, don't steal it, I won't let you down. I will thank you, we've had rest, thank you. And any other questions? Yes?
I have a question about that. Coaching
Yes.
the French Army, the 1700s,
Pardon?
the French Army, they dyed their woolen, jackets with cochineal.
Yes.
So, was that the Spanish did it first and then the French got it?
Yeah, they bought it from the Spanish.
Pardon?
They bought the bugs from the Spanish.
Okay, because they actually grew it in the south of France. I mean, they had the bugs down there and
Okay.
they would.
I think the Canary Islands were one of the biggest producers after they got the bugs, after they knew of the value of the bugs. They're also, it's a cousin to the mealy bug that you find on border on your hand border or your house plants. And they have a little fuzzy white thing on. That's what the bugs do. They crawl on the cactus. They're pregnant females. They don't need to go anywhere. They put up their little house. They find a nice place to suck cactus juice. They build a little foamy house over themselves. Their legs fall off. They're set for life until the dyers fall off. It's also related to the lap bug from which the lap is made, the lap needle. So it's a interesting group of, I mean, very useful group of bugs. I don't know. Quite a bit. There's I don't know if it's a 1-to-1 ratio or I don't know what charities to use. Usually, you put the dye in a pair of pantyhose because you keep it from little pieces from going all through the wall. Usually had a group about like this, about half a handful. I thought it was not very accurate. That's why he did the dyeing too. So much of this is, you know, oh, that's about right. Somebody said, oh, well, Jerry kept all those notes. What notes? He didn't keep any notes at all. And if he was like a good cook, you look at the dye cut, needs a little bit more of this, needs a little more of that. So I gotta learn how to do that myself. Is there another question back there? Yes.
Another one, a culture that uses sashes a lot is Japanese. And the men with their
Yes.
building tatas, and they have these very long sashes that they use to wrap around. And do you know anything about that?
I don't know their silk, but that's all I know about them. And I'm pretty much woven on one.
Is it true that sheep, even black sheep, don't have pure black wool? And I know you said that was South Africa, somewhere probably like the Southwest Indians, the black was actually dyed because even if they sorted out the wools, the black sheep were not pure black. Do you know anything about that? Or maybe another way to ask it, if you want pure black from sheep wool, do you dye it or?
Well, yes and no, but the middle of that, oh, this one, that's undyed. The black is not, hasn't been dyed. But if you look at it like, okay, that's not a pure true jet black, you might have to, it's gonna be what degree you desire.
You might have to give Mother Nature a little helping
Yes.
hand to get it.
But it depends on the degree of black, what you want to dye, or what they call it, gray. Now I have painting yarn that's blacker than that. And when sheep get older, like the rest of us, their hair gets lighter, gets grayer.
Silver.
Yeah, so silver's nice, but it's like a dye. It's nice to look at. See if I have anything else.
Susan,
Yes.
I was gonna say, over here.
Yeah.
There's a sash that was hanging on the stand.
Yes.
And I was gonna say, why don't you point out the difference between a woven and a linen woven sash, supposedly, finger woven. See right there on the.
I don't have any.
There is one.
Yeah, all right, and that is blue woman.
Yeah.
But, that's what, one of the things I read when I was doing research, they said that, instead of doing the double lightnings, a lot of times for some of the sash, that they would, sew 2 lightnings together to make a double lightning. And I showed it to a friend of mine that was on Timber Finger Reader, and he said, it's none of this is sort of cheap, and he said, yeah, but, okay, this is Blue Woman.
Sometimes there's a stitched edge on that where it looks like they cut a white piece in half and they stitch one edge of it and then the other one, the woman edge. I don't know about that one, but.
We'll have to look at it, because you really have to look at the closer inspection.
Right, I've seen a lot of these sashes and one guy told me he bigger leaves and showed me that stash just like that. So, really?
It's, compare the difference, to me, it just doesn't look the same. That's all I can say, it's not the same. I can't really.
Is that a modern interpretation, or would that be your?
This isn't mine.
It's mine.
Okay.
I've had it for, a bit over 30 years. It's one of the first, when they first started doing the French interpretation down here. That's one of the sashes that a lot of.
Yeah, but I'm asking.
I think
Did they
it's
loom?
something that they.
No, wait,
What?
please. Did they loom, weave, and period?
Oh, I don't know.
Yes, they did. They were, after they got popular, they couldn't, you can't, think weaving is a very slow process. So they came up with a loom that would create a lightning sash that looked close to it, sort of similar. But to me, it doesn't look the same. And they said the factory that did it, that could produce them, was destroyed during bomb raids of World War II. Probably a squadron of disgruntled finger weavers that didn't like the people bastardizing our work. And we get grumpy.
So when you're doing the finger weaving, then do you need any type of loom system at all, or you just anchoring it?
You anchor it to something, and most of the time at home, but I use a really high-tech, sophisticated folding chair sitting in front of me. And well, you need tension on it. So I fold it over the chair and sit on one end of it. And my tension is just the way my hands, it doesn't have to be as tight as a loom. When I do use a loom, it's like a guitar string, it's really tight. But on this, it doesn't have to be that tight. So it's just the way my hands put enough tension on it. And then by sitting on it, I have to breathe and start to get close to me. I can just stick my other hand up, hold it over the chair, and readjust. But you can stick to start off. And that's to put your first few threads on, to give yourself a foam, something to work off of. And then keep woven about an inch or so. You don't keep the full stick out further away. I got stuff with it. I hadn't planned to, but I'll probably sit around a camp. I probably will. I don't play big yet. I got a lot done playing the music we were playing earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, Hammer Dulcimer. Boy, I can crank out and finger like nobody's business. But I had some spinning going on there, so I was working with that. Got pretty good. I got you. It works. Any other questions? Well, thank you for having me here. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, and you can keep your notes in there, and keep your guidance.
Tonight, I can get a whole day out of this. If it gets to be like 80 degrees out here, which it won't. Yeah, I'll have problems. But I've watered, or I've marbled on water that was almost dark brown because it was so contaminated, and it still works. Not as well, but it works. So this pattern is mostly Prussian blue. Nice big drops. That. Okay, now I'm going to stretch those out with a fairly thick needle diagonally. Back against each other. And I'm going fairly deep in the tray, and that creates more current, which can be risky because it might keep moving after I did it. I want it to kind of stop. Slow down at the end. Now the hard part. I'm going to lay the paper down at an angle that matches the angle of the drawn part, if I can, and I'm going to gently move it. take this piece off. So you can see that Prussian blue in those flowers.
Oh, yeah.
You can imagine what it's going to be like in there.
Mm-hmm.
Line this up. And I'll pick this up. Now those diagonals, light and dark, are the result of shaking it. That's called Spanishing. And that's a drawn Spanish. There's a lot of blue, so I'm going to have to rinse it. I put more blue on there than the paper could hold. So you would see this on books in the very early 1900s. You'll see it on the big books, the really big books. See, I'm hitting this with a lot of water because I put too much paint. I'll admit I got carried away. So that really has a lot of movement. They almost match. A little bit more at an angle, but that's not bad. That's good enough.
Oh, yeah.
So we get one print with all that paint I threw on there, one print. And the glory of Prussian blue, just incredibly strong.
It just jumps out.
Yeah, Prussian blue is
Especially with the yellow.
yeah, well that's so important. But this Prussian blue is very strong because it's so small and it's able to be closer together, which makes it more dense and more color.
Mm-hmm.
This is invented, it's a synthetic color. It's invented in Berlin about 1704. So we have examples of this from then on. Now before that, they would have probably have had, well, there's several different blues. This is an indigo blue here, okay? And this is a organic blue. It's made from a plant, so it's alive, right? So organic. It doesn't work in marbling unless you convert it to an inorganic.
Huh.
So you attach the color to something that is inorganic, like alum. So we attach the color matter to alum. And alum, well, we pickle with it. We use it as a blood, stop bleeding, and different things like that. And that then becomes something that will stick to paper and permanently stay. Okay, so this can become a pigment for marbling with a little bit of chemistry. Takes a little bit of work. And they were doing that. They talk about all the different pigments that were available in the 19th century. They were doing a lot with like wood tannins and things like that. They would get a color out of a redwood and then make a pigment with sticking that tea. It's like tea.
Oh, yeah.
You know, for example, my teacup. If I were to take this tea, which is very small particles of color, I could throw some alum in there and make pigment, the color of that tea. And I've done it. I've done it with goldenrod plants before and a few other
Yeah,
things.
goldenrod's a good one. Walnut hulls.
Walnut. I've tried walnut too, and I've never used it, but I've made the pigment, but I never ground it down and tried it. I just need to do that sometime.
Well, I gotta use it in dyeing clothing and everything.
Yeah.
Well, you pick up walnuts and look what happens to your hands.
Oh, yes, yes. So we'll do,
Pokeberry, that's another one.
that's true. That's right. See all that blue left over?
Yep.
That shows you how much extra blue that the paper didn't pick up. It's just It can't. It can only pick up so much,
Right.
but that's okay. We can live with it. Okay, we're gonna do a French curl.
Well, anything less, it wouldn't have come out as bold.
That's right. Yellow ochre, a little contaminated blue in there, and a little bit of red iron oxide. Trying to get the droplets to be fairly evenly distributed over the surface. Now the last color, Prussian blue, which might be a little strong for this pattern, but I don't want to dilute it because it'll dilute it for all the others, so we'll try to manage that. The yellow I'm using is not my brightest yellow. I think if I put my bright yellow in there, it'd probably match the strong blue a little bit more. Okay. Break that up a bit. And let's cross our fingers if no wind comes through, because that'll really mess up this pattern. And now we're going to take...
You shouldn't say that stuff.
I know. Hey, hey. Quickly find some paper.
I don't know how to teach.
And just right on top. Something fell in there. I saw a big hole. So we'll see. We'll dig that out and see what it is. I think it was a leaf, a tiny leaf or something. This out of there. Classic French curl. See the hole in that lower corner?
Yeah.
It happens.
Oh yeah. Looks like a face.
Yeah. Careful what you see in there.
Yeah, I can see the face of it. Yeah, it looks good.
Give that a good squirt. Clean it up. Yeah, I think that blue's a little dense. I'm gonna have to add some water to it. I made the blue extra strong in case I needed it strong, and I've been diluting them a bit. But I could say that I'm happy with the intensity of everybody together. I mean, that's a strong yellow, strong red, strong blue.
Oh yeah.
So that's what you want. You want it as strong as possible. Unless you're reproducing an old pattern that says don't do that, right? I mean, you could do what you want, but if you're reproducing something, you do have to tune things together to make them go together well. So that's a French curl, but a little heavy in the blue, a little large, a little too large, I think, but that's okay.
Nice.
One at a time. In Vincennes, there's a a cathedral there that has a basement full of books with that pattern on it.
We'll be in Vincennes in a couple weeks.
That's right. And I've been in the basement. I checked them out, and sure enough,
Nice.
they're about that same spacing. They're all from about 1800 on. Nothing before then, it seemed.
What's the pattern of the blue?
This is a 20th century pattern called a drawn Spanish, and it was found on large books because it's a big pattern. It looks better when I have a bigger sheet.
You do Lewis and Clark also, don't you? Lewis and Clark down?
I will be there this year.
Okay, good. Yeah, because we'll be there too.
Good. Yes.
Nice, very nice.
Thank you.
Look at these, John.
You're probably trying to clear
Pretty
off.
girl.
Yeah.
In the marbling, are you?
So I'm putting down a little bit of green, and I'm going to put down. It's going to be a very earthy, nice earthy pattern.
Coming out.
Um,
I was supposed to have been staying up there, and I got this cold again. Yeah. So I didn't stay. I just day shipped.
green. I'm going to do a lighter yellow, or a yellow and lighter red, I should say. No blue in this. I don't have my orange out. I need an orange. I think I'll grab an orange and pop it in here in a minute. That always is good. It's between the yellow and the red. It's a good transition between the two.
Oh yeah, right.
It's beautiful to see. And I think that's about it. Maybe I'll pop some strong red, and that'll be it. I have two reds today. I have a pinkish red that's an ochre. It's French earth. And then the strong rust, iron oxide. That's good.
He just put a French girl.
Okay, I'm going to stretch it.
He said something fell in it, which you can see the white spot. I mean, back
What?
here in the back, it kind of looks like a bird.
Stretch it again.
I get his plan. Yeah, Sean
What?
come up. The girl I'm seeing, she's got some kids and stuff. One's 17 years
Small.
old. She just really enjoyed it. And Sean
And this one I'm going to really rake
just
it
basically had
that way.
a single class with her in my kitchen.
Yeah.
And boy, she just loved it.
I did it for a prop for a show a number of years ago, and it wasn't like this caliber, but I mean it turned out okay.
We were talking about that. I went out and bought him a bunch of pot scrubbers. I bought like 15 pot scrubbers. He goes, the best things are now, Dad, is brooms.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at his stuff.
Around a little bit.
I can see where he's getting that from, because you can just tap it barely. And I was like,
Oh yeah, you can see it starting to move.
I want it to be broken up and a little messed up, a little damaged.
Those type
And then
things
we're going to
from the like any shaker village that
good point. So, I know I was starting to learn a lot of things. I thought it was supposed to be really nasty today.
that's coming.
Is it?
really. Seems nice now.
Well, it was cold yesterday, man. I was cutting grass. I had 2 yards to cut yesterday. I was in sweats and still freezing.
We're supposed to have hail and thunderstorms this afternoon.
Well, you don't need to say that too out loud. You know.
Sorry.
Don't encourage us. I'm just day tripping. I can't stay out here. I got tomorrow. I got to go to the. Have to go to the Redbud School tomorrow. We are the 250th. We allowed the school art class to have a competition to see for a logo camp. Yeah. I didn't know you doused them that much, but.
Well, I have to. If you're using a more modern type of marbling, with acrylics or something, it washes off the acrylics. You got to be really careful.
Okay.
But some days it does wash it off. Some days my yellow is gone. So you never know. But yeah, I've been, I raked that like 6 times, back and forth. So whenever you rake it, it tends to contaminate the paint. It mixes it actually with starch, and the starch gets around the color and it won't let it stick to paper. It's like an insulated wire. It won't conduct. It won't stick. So you always run the risk of that, and I did on that one. In fact, it's not fuzzy. Actually, it worked. The green's a little fuzzy, but that's pretty sharp. Those lines are pretty sharp, which is good because it's not really. The weather's good for marbling today. I can't take credit for that. It's the weather. So you don't want to. Actually, before a storm's the best time. It's the atmosphere is charged, and you'll talk to ladies that do spinning and dyeing, and they say red sticks best before a storm. And if it's cold before a storm, it's even better. So today's okay. I'm happy.
How long you been doing marbling?
Oh, 21 years.
Really?
Just long enough to start to understand it. Now I'm starting to learn something.
Yeah.